So, Virgo, it's your turn. So let's have a look. That's you. Okay, Virgo. This is your general report from Terra Lumination for October 2017. We're going to jump right in. You know the drill. You've probably visited here before. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be here now. And we're shuffling right up to the last second so that you are a witness. No jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals. Just keeping it super simple here, okay? And just hope you get something out of the little story that unfolds. And you know the drill. Watch for your sun, moon, and rising, and smush it all together and write your own story, okay? Reinterpret however you feel is best for you, okay? This is just a big, broad, general report energy reading for the season for you. And we'll do what we can, all right? So here we go. I don't know if you were feeling anything, Virgo, but it's kind of your moment. Coming out of September into October, there was a massive Virgo stellium. I don't know if you noticed. There was a moment there for about 5 hours when we had Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, all in Virgo simultaneously from about 0 degrees to 28 degrees, covering the whole Virgo spectrum. It's quite something. So on that particular day, which would have been, let's see, looking back now, that would have been something like the 19th of September. Maybe you had some very interesting experiences around that time. Anyway, here we go. That's the core. That's the heart. Okay? This is legacy. This is history. This is what you're bringing in with you. This is the ever-present now as you move through October, where everything is always now. It's always, always right now. Okay? And then this would be the energy of you making decisions in that moment, in the perpetual now, about, so what am I going to do now? Because every time you make a decision, you're activating the process of evolution and going forward on the understanding that you're facing into what you might call the unknown, in which case you face risk and reward. Dun, 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 dun. So how do we do that safely and effectively so that you make the best of your heart energy? Remember, where this is a heart journey spread reading here, because the heart is the very core of everything. We're not doing an intellectual academic approach to the readings here. This is very much about core heart energy, on the idea that it's a journey. The heart is always beating and pumping, new, in, out, old, new, old, new, old, new. It's always growing and evolving, just like our breath. In that case, how do we move forward effectively and safely? And then also, if you like the idea that you create your own reality through your actions, your decisions, your words, your thoughts, then this would feel appropriate. You might sense this as, oh, okay, that makes sense. On the other hand, if you think that life is out there and then it comes at you, then this would be more like the energy of fate. It would feel more like fate. And this card here is more like fear and joy, the same energy, but one is the inverse of the other, depending on how your body feels as you make that momentary decision to move forward and evolve, through the perpetual now, thousands of decisions at a time through October. Each time you make a conscious or subconscious decision, you trigger that energy of fear or joy, whatever it is. So you're always running into that eventually. And then this would be the momentum, okay? So to where things are heading once you've built up some momentum here. Can you see that this is a heart shape? I hope you can. Let's try to do it the best I can for you to see that. Can you see that there? Like this? That's for you. That's your heart. And that's your heart, the very core, pulsing and beating like it does, all right? And now we're going to look, and it's a journey, okay? We're looking at it this way. That's how we're going to tell the story. We're going to look at this in the moment. This is the weather underneath. It's the weather that surrounds and permeates the situation, and it's up to you to make the best of it, okay? Like anyone else would do. So what do you got? You've got the Knight of Swords here. So it might be that kind of electric feeling going on. Have you ever had that feeling like in in winter, deep winter time, when you can get that very static feeling, and The air feels a little bit electric, and uh, also it happens in summertime too. When you get extreme heat, sometimes you go near power lines or those big transformer things, and everything's really seriously buzzing, like you think it's going to explode or sparks are going to fly out everywhere. Well, that's kind of what I'm feeling for you, Virgo, with the Knight of Swords there. I'm feeling that there's a lot of electrical energy around you in your circumstances, situation, which could really give you a charge, but it also could give you a jolt. It's almost like the energy of lightning. That's what I'm feeling. And it could trigger the, like, overload the mind, so to speak. Like what happens when you get lightning or when you get a short circuit, like you get everything's fine for a while, and then all of a sudden, and then, it chills out. But sometimes there has to be a sudden release of energy, like lightning or static electricity or something like that. So if you feel that things are buzzing around you and you're all kind of lit up and ready to take action, and your mind is very active, then so be it. Now, you don't have to let yourself be owned by those conditions, those circumstances. All I'm sensing is that it's out there. So the idea is to make the best of it, okay? Like if it scares you, take shelter. If it inspires you, uh, capture the energy and make something out of it. Just don't allow yourself to get burned, okay? And don't burn other people, okay? In case you are the one who's fully charged up, ready to spark out, ready to arc out. Let's have a look at the core. Dun, 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 the devil at the core. So right now, my feeling is that you might be coming to these like striking realizations, like lots and lots of striking realizations in a row, kind of like static electricity, like that feeling where each tiny little jolt is adding up to another layer of awareness, where you might realize how bound you are to existing habits, okay? Preconditioning, subconscious behaviors and beliefs that have been like branded and burned into you, like they own you, okay? Where there's no sense of relief or release, let's put it that way, where you might have been either forced or trained or raised or educated or conditioned into living a life which was composed of an extremely elaborate collection of very complicated habits. And that feels like life. In other words, living life through a lot of very, very complex habits that might be just automated. So, Virgo, what I'm feeling here is that you might be in a really good moment in your life journey, right deep down in the core of your heart, where you realize that, my gosh, so much of human behavior is automatic, habitual, action reaction behavior. And you're bound to that. It's almost like it owns you. And then you're coming to a stark realization that, wait a minute, that might not be healthy. What about if I want to make my own deliberate conscious choices based on absolute truth as opposed to conditioning? In other words, if you have been living your life as a preconditioned entity and you're realizing, wait a minute, I don't want to just be someone who lives on autopilot all the time, thinking that that's me living my life. I want to be released from that. I want to be fully involved and activated in making my own deliberate, conscious decisions with full awareness of all the uh, the information that I need in order to make these healthy decisions. And all of that information is out there, but you might not have been aware of it to the extent where you are becoming aware of it now. So if you're like feeling a little bit bound up with like your existing lifestyle, especially in terms of habits, you know how like people turn into furniture. If you've been with people, family situations, relationships, in whatever aspect of your life where everything you just take it for granted, it's like furniture. Like, oh, that's my boyfriend. Okay, there it is. Oh, that's my husband. Now my wife. That's my child. That's the sofa. That's the refrigerator. Those are the grocery stores, and everything is there. It's just like furniture. And then there's this whole other concept like, wait a minute, there's life beyond that. Okay, so what are you bringing in with you? Okay, more swords. All right, so Virgo, it might be you're in a situation where you're realizing this now, like coming into the October season, coming out of the Virgo season coming into October, you might feel as though you've been carrying a lot of these inner conflicts with you. Like we know we were giving the analogy about all this arcing out type energy, like a sparking battery, like they do, like when you're jump starting a car or something and you see those big sparks, or when those electricity transformers in town start arcing and sparking and you can actually see them glowing sometimes. I feel as though you're bringing a lot of that in with you. You've been carrying a lot of that for a long time, to the point where you almost feel like it's burnout. Because with the Five of Swords here, it's like the energy of futile conflict. So you might have been wrestling with these issues without even knowing you're wrestling with them, sort of fighting with yourself internally, with yourself, and feeling as though it might be happening to you and from others. And yet the reality is it's your own internal conflict, on the understanding that you might have reached a point of burnout with your, like, if you think of yourself as a computer, Virgo, which is sometimes a good analogy for Virgos, because you have a very, very practical, efficient, effective way of operating sometimes, well, most of the time, in a very healthy Virgo. But just like a computer, it's very, very, very easily to be corrupted, infected with viruses. Um, if you don't do the housekeeping, the protection systems, the systematic regular cleanups, the disk wiping, the hard drive wiping, all the cleaning, the maintenance stuff, things can get really, really, let's say, less and less functional over time, where everything turns into static. Everything is just, you're always wrestling just to try and keep things going. It turns into a perpetual fight where I'm just trying to keep things going, let alone enjoy life and have fun and be the real fully evolved Virgo. I'm just fighting the endless fight just to keep going. It's a never-ending battle. And life doesn't actually have to be that way, but it might feel that way coming into October, where you might be doing a lot of internal questioning of yourself, a lot of deep, deep truth seeking, where you really want to find out what's going on and what's not working, what is working, how to fix it. Because you can't live like this forever, because you end up with burnout. Spiritual burnout, body burnout, mental burnout, relationship burnout, where you don't even know how or why it is burnt out anymore, because you could have been living so much immersed in habits and behavior patterns that were actually in some ways maybe not very healthy. And now is a really good opportunity to recognize that and bring that into full awareness, and then figure out a way to deal with it. So let's have a look. What about the ever present now? See? Like, do you see the contrast here? Like, if you understand what we were just talking about here, and it starts to make sense to you, and yet in the present now, you are already very deeply aware of this aspect of yourself, and how completely alienated this beautiful energy would be to this energy here. In other words, it's almost like you're in a uh, time period right now where you're very, very aware of what we just talked about here, but it's becoming very, very stark and very intolerable, because you might have not been aware of your own true nature. You might have just been taking this as life and just taking that for granted, and having forgotten that this would be your true nature. To be, forget the gender. This is a beautiful card. It's very, very feminine. The Empress energy is like the ultimate uber woman. And you might be now remembering yourself like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was that far out of whack with myself, where I allowed myself to live this way, when deep down I know this is who I really am. I am a person of great fertility, great beauty, great abundance, great uh, just manifesting the ability to just be awesomely beautiful and have no doubts or questions about that. And reveling in one's own awesomeness, reveling in one's own beauty and strength of soul, just the lusciousness of humanity, where it doesn't always have to be a battle to stay alive. You can just simply enjoy being alive in all its wonders, all of its uh, chaotic flaws, and all of its wondrous, enduring beauty. It's all part of what we call life here. And you know now in October that you have this is as part of your nature, and you have a right and duty to be this way. You have a right to abundance. You have a right to manifest in creativity and be very, very like immersed in a very, very tangible world that actually feels really, really good. Just the opposite of this. So there's a stark awareness I feel that's happening inside of you, Virgo, where you're realizing, wait a minute, I've lived this splintered life for so long, and it doesn't have to be this way. I don't have to live at the mercy of my habits and stuff. I have a right to be this way. So the question is, moving on, it means making decisions to have to stay this way. And if you've been deeply, heavily programmed and living on autopilot for so long and it's just falling apart and it's burning out, and you're realizing, whoa, 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 it doesn't have to be that way because I forgot this is who I really am. In which case, what are we going to do now? Which would be like here, making decisions. What are we going to do now moving forward? Okay, well, at least maybe strike a balance. You see with the generosity card here, you're understanding the energy of giving and receiving. As you give, so shall you receive, and so on, and how it's a self-perpetuating energy. In other words, you might realize, oh my gosh, I brought all this upon myself without being aware of it. And now you are aware of it. You have a chance now to balance things out where you're not going to deny yourself. You're not going to deny like the animal side of your nature. I mean, that's stupid because we're all people. We all have these raw animal instincts. There's no point in pretending that doesn't exist. The question is finding balance where this stuff does not have to own you, where you own this energy, and this amazing power that comes with the devil can be, let's say, integrated into your being where it becomes, let's say, subservient to the Empress, okay? As opposed to the Empress being subservient to the devil energy. So that's good. So striking a balance between your raw animal humanity, which would be, very much based on raw instinctual behaviors and energies that we might call habits, and instead fully coming into mastery and ownership of your awesomeness and striking and finding the balance point. That's what I'm feeling here for you, okay, Virgo? And it's making the decision to do that. In other words, you don't have to obliterate this, and you don't have to pretend that you're like this 24/7, 365. It's a combination of both. And in other words, living your humanity, your raw human nature, combined with your most glorious spiritual expression of self, and bringing it all into balance. Question is, how do we do that? So let's have a look. Okay, well, we admit to ourselves, let's just say, Virgo, that it would require an admission that there's a lot to learn here. In other words, if you've been living at the mercy of, let's say, habits, conditioning, patterns, expectations, belief systems, all sorts of ways of living that are sort of automated, that own you, but leave you feeling in a perpetual battle just to stay alive, then it requires, yes, the healthy decision to strike a balance, start from scratch, but it requires an admission that there's still a lot to learn, okay? And there's a lot of desire to, let's say, rise up to your potential here. With the Page of Wands, what I'm feeling for you, Virgo, is like a really good, honest appraisal, the reality check of what we just talked about here, and then making the decision to bring things into balance, knowing that it's not going to happen at the flick of a switch, knowing that it is going to be a journey. It requires a decision to passionately embrace your life going forward and be willing to dedicate the energy, the passion, the spirit that is going to be required over the long term as you learn and grow into this much more harmonious, balanced way of being, where these are not opposing energies anymore, where these are fully combined. The raw animal self with the amazing, beautiful, magnificent, highest evolved self, and it's all part of one beautiful thing. But just like long, very, very, very long-term habits, it means starting over again and starting to find new ways to reprogram oneself over and over again, little tiny bit, baby steps at a time, uh, to create new habits. Habits is not a dirty word. Good habits are really, really important. And it's possible to create good, healthy habits so they can be turned into automatic behaviors so that you're not owned by unhealthy habits. You're starting a whole new lifestyle regimen where you would be training yourself to learn really good new habits and make that part of your new lifestyle and embrace that passionately. And of course, that takes a lot of work. It takes long-term commitment and an admission that there's some naivety and innocence here and there's a lot to learn, but that's okay. It can be treated as an exciting new journey going forward. Let's relate that back to the monster Virgo new moon at the end of September. So make that energy work for you, okay, Virgo? We're going to grab that. So let's just say you understand what we're talking about here and you decide, yeah, well, let's just do that. Where does that take you? Okay, it means work. Okay, let's just admit it. Let's be honest here. With the Eight of Pentacles, it means it's a labor of love. It's not going to happen overnight. If going into this whole process of let's say deprogramming yourself, go back to the computer analogy, where you have to go deep inside and realize, oh my gosh, I guess in some ways I really am like a computer and I can now see where it's all messed up. So I'm going to have to go back in systematically, step by step, program by program, operating system by operating system, file by file by file, whatever it is, every component, I'm going to have to clean it all up, figure out what's wrong, what's not working. If it's completely redundant, dump it. If it just needs reformatting, do that, whatever it is, but it's all work. But that's okay. It's noble work. It's work of very high value. It's about removing obstacles to what makes you work and creating, deliberately going through the work processes that are necessary to create new, stabilizing, healthy habits going forward. Please think of this, please treat this as a long-term project, like a work in progress, okay? I hope you can see it that way, Virgo. As opposed to thinking, oh God, drudgery, drudgery. No, not at all. This is a chance to like start from scratch, one tiny little step at a time, very incremental in a very orderly way, which would be just right for Virgos anyway, because that's kind of how you like to be, doing everything just like that, just like that, just like that, kind of like what I like to do here on the screen, get it all just nice and lined up for you so that it looks just right. Did I show you that earlier? The heart shape? That's for you, Virgo. And there you are right now. Anyway, let's have a look. So, on the understanding that you're going to have to make conscious, deliberate decisions to balance this out, what would that trigger inside of you? The fear and the joy. Like, what if you can't do this? What if you just don't have the spirit or inspiration or desire, or you just chicken out? That would be scary. Also, what would it be like if this actually worked? Just imagine if this all works out. Let's have a look. See? Ha! Temperance. This is like the ultimate card of spiritual alchemy. It's almost like a total vindication here of your decision. You know what? I'm a Virgo. I know I have to tidy things up, clean things up, do the work. Just do the work, the purification, the cleansing, the reorganizing, all of that, because I'm really good at that. Okay, so let's just say you figure that out, Virgo. And your secret wish, fingers crossed, is like, gosh, I hope I can do this. I really need to get this sorted out because this would be awesome. Because this would indicate that, yes, it's actually working. I'm doing it. And when you feel that and you own that in your body, it's the understanding that you are increasing and increasing and increasing and building your skills at temperance. Because the thing about temperance, it looks like a very, very beautiful card, and it is, and it indicates there's a tremendous amount of spiritual guidance and support here as you go through the journey of your own alchemical, let's say, churning processes. Because what happens is when you make these conscious decisions to go forward and do the work on your own evolutionary journey, it sends a signal to the angels above, they say, wow, Virgo did it. They made the decision. That sends off like a green light for the angels to come in and support you, because that decision is a very powerful indicator that you are ready, willing, and able to evolve. And that's what they need to see. They need to see that from you. It's like an invitation. It doesn't have to be absolutely direct, but it's an indirect invitation that says, okay, your angels are now ready to dive into your life and help you. Okay? We are always here for you anyway, but with this decision here, we're activated big time. So what happens is you start to feel like the more and more you do this, the more and more you realize you're getting guidance and support from up above, okay? From way, way up there. And that feels really good because it gives you that affirmation that you're on the right path. You're doing the right things the right way, because what you're actually doing is extremely hard to do. Okay, that's the thing about the temperance card. It looks so beautiful, but actually that process of bringing deep soul cleaning into effect, it's an extremely challenging process because it requires going deep into the soul and going through the churning process, the cleansing process that needs to happen, which is like going into a very, very deep cleaning system. And it might not be very comfortable. So it requires you have to have a lot of bravery and courage and passion and inspiration and, let's say, blind boldness just to be willing to jump in that alchemical process in the first place. So that's awesome. I'm so happy for you, Virgo. And of course, the shadow side would be like, oh my gosh, what if it doesn't work? Then you don't get this automatic. You don't get the chance to do a lot of self-healing. But we're not going to go there. We're going to take the positive approach that you, Virgo, are going to figure this out and you're going to make it work. You are going to make it work, okay? It's going to be beautiful. So where does that take you? See? Whoa, look at this. You got some big cards here, Virgo. I have a feeling this is very much connected with that massive new moon that happened at the end of September. So my feeling here is that by being willing to be very, very starkly honest with yourself about what's really, really been going on deep inside, just admitting it, being truthful about it, like allowing it to happen, even if it's just a series of lots of little tiny, like light bulb moments, those like flashes of awakening, those sparks when you realize, oh my gosh, I know what you're talking about here, and there's no going back. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Because what happens is it brings you to a realization that, my gosh, it is all about making important decisions. Yes, I have to make the decision to jump in the pool of evolution. I have to make the decision that I'm willing to do the hard work over the long period of time, step by step by step, without burning out. And in so doing, what you realize, my gosh, the power of decisions, the power of decision making, where you realize, my gosh, that's how you integrate yourself into full wholeness, bringing you, okay, let's go right back to the beginning, into harmony and wholeness married with yourself, where I don't normally do this, but I'm going to do this for you, Virgo, where I'm going to mess with the cards like this and kind of do this. Can you see what we're doing here? This is very unusual for Tarot Illumination, but do you see what I'm trying to get at here, Virgo? What I'm indicating here is that that's you in your pure self, this wonderful, beautiful creature here, okay, in all your magnificence. And then there's your lower self here, the person, the creature of habits, okay, good habits, bad habits, all of it, okay. And then by going through this whole journey and realizing you have to integrate this into yourself so that it all becomes one, where you are married to yourself, all the shadow aspects, all the light aspects into one thing. So you become the essence of yourself, where all of this does become this. You see what we're getting at here? Where you can basically fall in love with yourself, marry yourself as a primary relationship, on the understanding that, my gosh, it was just a decision. After all of that, it was just a decision. But I just never knew because no one ever told me. And I was just immersed into habitual behavior. But now you can own your life, own it, create a whole new world through the process of conscious, deliberate decision making, and in so doing, do a lot of self-healing, okay? Which brings you into much greater unity and harmony with yourself. And guess what? That's the ultimate day job, is to be your most wonderful married self in this manner, which allows you to be the best person that you can be for the rest of humanity as well. So it makes you extremely attractive, Virgo, to others, especially others who are also on their very determined evolutionary path. And that's a big, big turn on. Like people who are really authentic and true to themselves, and it isn't all fake and phony evolution. It isn't fake, phony spirituality. It's the real deal, where you are a raw human being with all your shadows, and you are this wonderful, abundant being with all your light. And you did it through the process of lots of self-healing. Thank you, Virgo. Have an awesome October. I don't want to mess the story up anymore. Watch for your sun, moon, and rising, and please make the best of it. Reinterpret however you want. Bye-bye. Bye.